Hello, welcome to the Pedestal Wife Society. My name is Braille, and I'm going to go ahead and apologize beforehand because someone is cutting their grass. That's the reason why I don't do Saturday live streams. I'm going to wait for everyone to get in, and then we're going to jump into the topic. What I want to do is talk about the signs of quiet disrespect from men and others, because what I'm going to talk about will apply to others, everybody basically, not just men. So let me give you a definition for disrespect. Disrespect is the lack of consideration or manners for others. So I want you to take that in. So when we're talking about the signs of quiet disrespect from men and others, you have your definition to start with. It's the lack of consideration. And see, this is something that I like to tell young women when I used to do a lot more one-on-ones, that there's three things women need to look out for, especially in the very beginning when you are dating someone. You want to look for him not listening to you, ignoring or disregarding your feelings, or ignoring your boundaries. That if you don't want to listen to the entire video, you're like, I don't got time for it. Saturday, I'm out and about. That is what you need to look for. That's going to be the gist of the video that we're going to talk about today. But the signs of disrespect from men and others is the lack of consideration. That is it in a nutshell. That is what you need to pay attention to, because sometimes what happens is I look at it like there's two types of disrespect. I look at is one can be very loud right in front of your face, and one can be very quiet where you know there's something wrong, but you may not catch on to later on. You may be able to point things out that's very disrespectful, but in the moment, in the heat of the moment, you didn't exactly want to go there, or you didn't, even though it didn't feel right, you just kind of ignored it and kept moving forward. And so the quiet disrespect that a man, and if you saw that video that I talked about when I talked about Dr. Bryant, and I don't forgot that man's name. That's how you know I don't pay these attention any mind. I don't pay these people any mind because I've already forgot his name and who he is. But I talked about him in my last video, that interview that was floating around with Dr. Bryant and the football player. And in that conversation, you saw a lot of quiet disrespect, and it was happening in real time. You saw that he really wasn't listening. He was too busy trying to look for a gotcha moment. And so when you're starting to date someone or you're starting to get to know someone, you need to pay attention. Are they listening? Are they listening? Because in the very early stages of a relationship, there's something called a honeymoon stage. If in that very beginning, he is not even listening to you. And I know we've been talking a lot about self mastery. Trust me, I'm going to tie everything in how important it is for you not to allow people to disrespect you, not even in a quiet way. I'm not saying that you have to be aggressive or loud or have to call them out, but you have to realize what you're not willing to show up for. And that's when it is disrespectful. So, because disrespect, the definition of it is the lack of consideration. So, this means this person does not consider you or give you any consideration for maybe your feelings, or not listening to you, or ignoring your boundaries. And it can look in different ways too, also. It can also be not valuing you, making you feel like you're not valuable, not honoring your time or your space, not listening, interrupting constantly. That's what I call undermining behaviors. Is when someone is constantly, and this is like a pet peeve of mine. This is the reason why when I would do my one-on-ones, one of the things I pride myself in is not trying to over talk the person who I'm talking to, because I feel like that's disrespectful, and that's quiet disrespect that a lot of people, I'm not going to say they do it intentionally. I'm going to say it's a common practice that most people are being disrespectful in that manner and don't realize that they're being disrespectful. But you need to be paying attention, because now you watch this video and you're like, now I know. I know that when someone is like over talking me, or when someone is not listening, and don't equate listening with doing, like they have to do everything you're saying. I'm not saying they have to do everything you're saying, or what do everything you're talking about, but listening, just giving you the courtesy of listening to what you have to say before they overtalk you, interrupt you, or undermine you. And these are things that you need to pay attention to, especially with you young ladies who are out here dating and you're wanting to make sure that you marry a high value guy, a worthy guy. You need to be able to recognize quiet disrespect very easily and very quickly. You don't want to get caught up in the honeymoon stage where everything is great and he's doing all these things. This is a continuous thing that you want to see. No matter the honeymoon stage, no matter if you've been in together for a year, 5 years, 20, 25, and plus, you want to still have that a God that's gonna value you, listen to you, and don't disregard your feelings and honor your boundaries and don't display undermining behaviors. Undermining behaviors is someone belittling you, um, avoiding communication, aka stonewalling. Stonewalling is when you want to communicate, that person is quiet and they won't speak to you. I legit have spoken to women who had to deal with a man who would stonewall them, and instead of them thinking or seeing that it was quietly disrespect, it was disrespect on the guy's end for him to act like that, they would think that if they worded a different way or if they did it a different way, then the man would stop stonewalling them. Not understanding they're disrespecting them because the man has lack of consideration for them. That is the reason why he's disrespecting her. That is the reason why he isn't speaking to her. That is the reason why he can go 3 to 4 weeks and not speak to her. Put downs, putting you down, constantly talking badly on you or speaking badly to you or about you. Pay attention to that. It is so important in this climate and the changes that I see that are happening between men and women that we recognize the disrespect that you're receiving. And like I said, this goes beyond men and just men. This goes to the speaks to the point of people that you want to have in your inner circle, people that you want to be able to have relationships, whether it's romantic or non-romantic relationships. You want to make sure you're not dealing with someone that is going to quietly disrespect you, give you lack of consideration, not and undermine the relationship at every turn. And honestly, I'm going to give you what I would tell them if we were doing our one-on-ones and it was done in private. I would tell you to leave them alone. Just that simple. And I know it would be hard to hear because some people, rationalize things differently and they don't see it as a disrespect or a lack of consideration. But I've learned from through my experience in my own personal life that you have to cut the disrespect at the knees, that you cannot allow people to show up in your life or show up in your world and disrespect you in that manner. And that goes for men, especially when you allow yourself to attach yourself or be in some type of relationship with a man who's going to quietly disrespect you. Baby, he gonna disrespect you behind your back or in front of your face. It escalates after that because he sees an easy target. So you have to be able to stand your ground, regardless if you are into him, attracted to him, or that he has things that you admire. You still need to make sure that you're not in a relationship with a person who's going to quietly disrespect you, because that escalates into other things. I've seen this with my own two eyes, watching other relationships, how the disrespect that was quiet became loud. It became to the point of not only was that person disrespecting her to her face, he was also disrespecting her behind her back. And so just remember, when it comes to relationships, you need to make sure, and this is across the board. Like I said, I don't care if it's a romantic or non-romantic relationship. You need to understand when you're being quietly disrespected and determine if it's better for you to move around and engage in another way with another person. So if you are here, go ahead, drop something in the comment section. You all, I'm trying to show up on different days so I can have a video up for you all. So if you're here, I don't bite, go ahead and drop something down in the comment section. But I wanted to come and talk about this because when I'm giving you what you need to look at in order to recognize quiet disrespect for what it was. But that is the reason why I'm investing so much time in the self-mastery videos, because if you are into the self-mastery, you've been watching these videos and you are dedicated to improving self for self, this will become easier for you to see in front of you, it'll be easier to determine that it's disrespect. You'll recognize it right away because of the way that you have built yourself up, the way that you carry yourself, the way that you love yourself, the way that you treat yourself. You're going to recognize disrespect for what it is, and you wouldn't stand for it. You wouldn't allow it. You wouldn't allow yourself to be put through that. And I'm telling you all, is a woman that just celebrated her 44th birthday last week, that I've learned that disrespect becomes very loud when you accept it quietly. When you allow people to quietly disrespect you, that's the reason why I start out with some of the things to look for, because I know everyone isn't there in their journey of self mastery where you're going to be able to recognize it very quickly. And I want you to have something to hold on to, especially if you are dating or if you're trying to move up in life, you're trying to level up, you want to be around certain circles, even circles, the circles that you wanted to elevate to, if with money, with no money, it doesn't matter what type of circle you're trying to elevate to. They will respect you more if you do not accept quiet disrespect. If you do not allow yourself to accept quiet disrespect just to move up or level up. Because I see this all the time on social media where a lot of encouragement is being given to women to accept that quiet disrespect, regardless, as long as they're going to level up or they're going to receive something from it. I'm going to tell you, they're not going to respect you, and they're still going to give you lack of consideration. Maybe it may not be to your face anymore, but it will be behind your back. Remember, this escalates. Disrespect escalates. Lack of consideration escalates. But especially if you are accepting to it. And so I needed to do this video because I came across a couple videos in the level up community where it was encouraging women to accept disrespect as long as they're going to get a bag, to accept disrespect as long as they're going to level up, to accept disrespect. And I can't have that be something that we advocate for or do on my page, because I understand being around these type of people that a lot of people want to get into those type of circles with. The disrespect that you accept because you think you're going to get a bag or make money or move into another, elevate to another level, you will still be disrespected. It will just be done in another way. It will escalate. Hey, April, I was just listening to another video of yours when I saw the live. Silent signals we give out. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. But disrespect is a lack of consideration. Let's start there. And so if you're willing to be with someone who has a lack of consideration of you, a disregard of your feelings, a disregard of your boundaries, a disregard of your thinking, the things that you have to say, you're going to have a hard relationship. And that is the most important thing we need to realize, that quiet disrespect escalates, and it looks differently as it escalates. And that's the reason why it's so important that you understand what's happening in front of you. One of the things I love to do is I kind of put them in two different categories. The ones that disrespect you to your face, of course, you know what to do. You know how to handle someone who's going to disrespect you to your face. Maybe they're going to call you out your name, or maybe they're just going to, snub you, or maybe they're going to just disrespect you in some kind of way by belittling your the way that you think, or belittling the way that you look, or belittling you in some type of way. Most people know how to handle when it's done in front of your face. That's the reason why I'm focusing on quiet disrespect, because that sometimes you may not feel or find out or figure out that you have been disrespected until you kind of analyze and review what just happened. And so I want you to know it's the lack of consideration. They don't consider you. And it's just that simple. And since they don't consider you, you should not stand or be willing to be with someone or be around people who do not have consideration for you, because that quiet disrespect will get loud and it will escalate. Is lack of communication and following through with what you say silent disrespect? Yes. The reason I say that is because the lack of communication and following through with what you say, well, I'm going to say at least the part of lack of communication is, because that equates to me like stonewalling. When I need to have a conversation with you and there's something that's heavy on my heart, I should not feel like that I'm talking to myself. I should not feel like that I'm chasing you to communicate. You should be willing to want to sit down and kind of hash it out. That's what people do in relationships. And so the lack of communication, definitely I would say is quiet disrespect. That equates to stonewalling, which is something with me having the one-on-ones with women, I'm finding out that a lot of men utilize stonewalling. And a lot of women don't understand what it is. A lot of women are trying to figure out, how do I communicate to him? How do I get him to open up to me? How do I have this conversation with him? And only thing he's doing is not talking. You're doing all the talking, you're doing all the chasing to communicate, you're doing everything to keep the relationship going. And that is quiet disrespect. That is the lack of consideration, which is what disrespect is. And so don't settle for that. Don't accept that in a relationship. If a man is not willing to communicate with you, to sit down and hash it out, to figure it out, to work through the issues, then he isn't the one. He's disrespecting you. And a lot of women don't see that as disrespect. They just see that as he's the quiet, silent type. You don't understand how many times I've heard he's quiet, he's silent, but he still loves me. So he's quietly, silently disrespecting you, and you don't recognize for what it is. So when you have a major issue, you all can't sit down and hash it out. You can't sit down and communicate. You can't sit down and talk about it. He's steady running away from communication. He's disrespecting because he doesn't have that consideration for you that you have for him, because you want to sit down and talk about it. You want to sit down and hash it out, to work it out, to see if you all can make your relationship work. You're in it to win it. And he should be too. If he isn't the one for you. Yes, they do. And it triggers a trauma of abandonment in him. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. The thing is, I'm not going to sit here and make it seem like that men like don't have their own traumas and things they're working through. But when the way that I grew up, I understand you, April, a whole lot, because of the fact that in the beginning, that's one of the things that we had to hash out. I like to talk things out. I like to work things out. And him being quiet kind of triggered me and made me feel like he wasn't listening. And see, back then, I was that type of person that as soon as I felt disrespected or felt like that you weren't listening to me or you weren't giving me any type of consideration, I was quick to let it go. If I wasn't, and thank God I'm a communicator, because I talked with him and he was like, that's not what I was doing. Like, make sure that you're not doing what I'm doing. I did. Because what I did, I took the silence for lack of communication, but really the silence for him was listening. Okay. Because I expect people, when I get in a conversation, I expect us both to be talking back and forth. When there's something that men do, men kind of take the time and listen and take it all in and process it in, and then they respond. I was waiting for the response right then. That's what I kept thinking. And so that would trigger me. And so I understand exactly what you're saying. And it maybe it's not exactly the situation aren't exact. Maybe he is if he's not even sitting down listening, just to listen to what you have to say and trying to hash it out, then yes, it's going to trigger abandonment. It's going to make you feel like that he doesn't want to be with you or he's going to leave you. But you have to realize, if he's not willing to, if the silence that he's giving you isn't one of understanding and then him coming back and talking, then that's the issue. That's the problem. Don't be with someone who knows that you have a history and all they do is keep triggering it. All they do is keep triggering it, not trying to make it better. They're not trying to make it work, because I've talked about the fact that how I was raised by my grandmother. So of course I had some abandonment wounds. And so it took me a while to realize he's communicating. I just want someone to communicate faster. And it may, like I said, it may not be the same thing that you're dealing with, but that's the reason I want you to have the other side of it too, to make sure everyone is realizing that yes, men do process things a little bit differently. So they'll sit back and kind of process everything, but they should communicate. So if he's not even communicating, or he's trying to stonewall, or he's walking away, that's the issue. That's the red flag. If he's walking away, if he is leaving the house every time you have to communicate, then yes, absolutely, this is disrespect. You don't deal with that. Do not settle for a guy who's disrespecting you in that manner. He is a quiet type. He is not really trying to keep up communication on a consistent basis. I don't need to hear from him all day, every day, but going a day or more without speaking to me is too much. How long have y'all been together? How long have y'all been together? Because I'm always curious about that, and also lets me know a little bit more about the relationship. Because one of the things that I know when it comes down to men, um, especially in the very beginning, I'll be very wary of a man in the very beginning getting to know me and not contacting me. Because in the very beginning, there's something called the honeymoon stage where they want to talk, they want to be under you, want to be under them. It's a two-way street of wanting to spend time with each other. But if in the very beginning he's already like not wanting to spend time with you and going days and days and days of not speaking or communicating, something's wrong with that. And honestly, even as I've been married for a very long time, 24 years, by the way, and we still manage to speak or communicate in some way, you know? So that's one of the things that is I would be thinking is somewhat that he's not as invested as I am. So how long have you all been together? And that's my first question. How long have you been together? Happy birthday. Thank you so much. Yeah, that's what happened last week, you all. Last week was my birthday. So reservations, celebrations, I never got to YouTube. And so that's why we're here on Saturday, which is normally not my normal day of doing a live stream. And I apologize. Someone is mowing their lawn. So you're going to hear that in the background. But disrespect is unacceptable. And it's unacceptable regardless if it's a man that you're dealing with or a new friend that you met. Learn how to recognize the signs of disrespect and the lack of consideration that they are giving to you and move around very quickly. You will find better people on the other side. You will find that if you stop accepting people who disrespect you, you'll be around more people who respect you or who want to consider you and who want to treat you correctly. You cannot continue to beg people who disrespect you of good treatment. That's not the way it works. You have to learn that disrespect is unacceptable. Lack of consideration is unacceptable, and not show up or allow it in your life. We are not together. He has my number for a year and he does things for me and shows me he's interested in me, but not consistently. Well, then guess what? If y'all are not together and he is not committed to you, then he has no reason to reach out to you. There's no commitment there. And I think instead of if he's interested, then he has a funny way of showing interest. If he's interested and wants commitment, he wants more, he has a funny way of showing it. I wouldn't be seeking commitment from this man, this guy, because everything you've written in this comment section to me is red flags. I would suggest cutting him off and moving around to someone else who's gonna want the commitments or want the things that you want in life. Because we have to be wary of the men who want to keep you on hook but don't want to actually commit. And he sounds like one of those. He was the guy I told you that helped me fix my car without asking me to pay and then went ghost for Christmas. He comes around and show interest, then leaves when I show interest. And that's the reason why he is not the one. He is showing yes, he did something. And like I said, sounds like he hooked you in to, seeing him as appealing, seeing him as an option, but he is not committed to being the option. And since he's not committed to being an option, you should not give him any more thought on his commitment or him being an option for you, because he isn't it. Now, if he wants to be a friend, put him in that category as friend, but don't put him in a category as more or someone that you're going to have a commitment with or any type of relationship, because the disrespect is already in front of you. It's very loud. That's loud disrespect. Like I said, I categorize disrespect in two different things. It's the loud disrespect where the person is doing it in front of my face and I cannot not see it. And then there's a quiet disrespect where I know in my body and my spirit that something is wrong, but I may have to analyze the situation later to figure out that this person disrespecting me. And I'm not going to stand for it, because I've learned that the more that you allow disrespectful people in your circle, the unhappier you will be. The unhappier you will be, the more confused you will be overall. So I've learned to cut disrespect at the knees. I don't play about disrespect. I give anybody that I meet respect until you show me that the respect I'm giving you is not appreciated and not wanted. And I move right on around and get around people who are going to respect me just like I respect them. But the quiet disrespect for women, if you're out here dating, I think I talked about this years ago because this is so important. Women don't understand how important it is to make sure that you're with someone who can listen to you, who is going to pay attention to you, who's going to listen to the things that you have to say and not dismiss them, who's going to also not disregard your feelings. Because yes, men always talk about how women always talk about their feelings and always in their feelings. You want a man that respects that and respects what you bring as woman. Ignoring your boundaries. You want a man that's going to honor your boundaries. You want a man that's going to respect your boundaries. If I have a boundary that you can't come over to my home until we've been dating for a year, baby, you better get on the respect train. You better be with it. Because if you're not with it, then I already know that you don't have the consideration for me that I require for you to commit to me. Remember, disrespect is nothing but the lack of consideration. If you think about disrespect in that manner, every time you're in a situation, you'll be able to recognize disrespect a whole lot faster because you'll be like, well, this person has a lack of consideration of me and how I feel. This person has a lack of consideration of my boundaries and the boundaries that are created to protect myself and love me and who I am as a woman. This person has a lack of consideration in listening to me and my dreams and to my aspirations and the things that I want to do in life. If you keep getting dismissed there, where a man is not even listening to you, and that's like the bare minimum, baby. I'm just giving you the bare minimum. I'm giving you the bare minimum of things that when it comes to disrespect, that you need to pay attention to. And it makes it a whole lot easier if you keep these things in front of you for you to be at a date and not just date. It goes beyond dating. It goes beyond dating. It goes to the friendship that you're going to create, to the relationship you're going to create. They're not romantic. If you just keep this definition of disrespect in front of you and you hold that definition up to all the relationships that you currently have and all of the people you engage with, you will find yourself getting rid of the people who quietly disrespect you and moving around the people who respect you, who care about you, who consider you, who love you, who care and love on you. And that's what you want as woman. That's what you need as woman, is to be around people who actually care about you, who consider you and don't think of you as an afterthought. Trust, I've been there young and wanting to just, be a part of the community, be a part of the group. And you accept quiet disrespect trying to be a part of a group that don't respect you or be with a man who doesn't respect you. And if you learn to cut disrespect off at the knees, remember, like I said, cutting disrespect off at the knees doesn't mean that you got to be aggressive or mean or loud or, have to tussle a little. It just means you have to realize what you need to show up for and what you don't need to show up for. And recognize who deserves a space in your life and who doesn't. And do it very quickly. So you don't deal with people or get more entwined or engaged with people who are going to disrespect you. Thank you. You're welcome. You're welcome. But it's so important that the signs are in front of you, that you don't ignore them. The things that people are doing. Remember, this goes beyond men. This goes beyond dating a man. This absolutely applies to the friendships that you're going to create, to the people that you're going to bring in your life. And then this also applies to if you have kids, you want to teach them to recognize the quiet disrespect that's in front of them so that they don't end up being with people who have lack of consideration for them. So I really wasn't going to make this video long. So it's like videos like 29 minutes. That's as long as I wanted to make it. I know it's Saturday. I know everybody got things to do. And you probably didn't even expect me to go live on a Saturday because I normally don't. So if you have any other questions, drop them down in the chat. But I wanted you to have this piece of content when it comes to quiet disrespect. And I wanted it to supersede men. It's not about men. It's not just about men. It's more about you walking through this life and allowing people to quietly disrespect you and not understanding that they are not considering you. And that lack of consideration that they have for you will escalate and it will become something else. So don't be surprised if you let people in your life who quietly disrespect you already, that it starts to escalate into where they're doing it behind your back, where they're talking to others about the disrespect. I've come across situations where women were in relationship with men who disrespect them, and the men were going out and disrespecting them in the streets, basically going out gossiping about that person, about the woman. And so that's how I know it escalates. So once you accept it in your life, it escalates into something else. And not just men. You can say this also for women, that if you let women in your life and they quietly disrespect you, they will go out in the street also and disrespect you to others. Do you still give one-on-one help? I give one-on-one help to inner circle members. I don't do it anymore. I don't do as much of that anymore, but I do it when it's an inner circle member, when if they reach out. So if we don't have anything else, any comments to leave, I'm going to go ahead and end this video. I just want you to know, start cutting disrespect off at the knees. Don't allow it to grow or allow it to fester in your life. You deserve more. You deserve people who are going to consider you, regardless if it's a man or woman. And you don't have to be mean, angry, or tussle about it. You just decide who you're going to show up for. And if show up for the people who respect you versus the people who disrespect you. And that's all you need when it comes to showing up for yourself and standing up for yourself. So I want to thank you all for being here. I appreciate you ladies for being in the building. Take the time to like the video, and I will see you all on the next one. You all have a good day. Happy Saturday.